Welcome to Dear Young Queen, the podcast.
Speeding. Action.
Speeding.
Ready.
Two.
Set. Mic check.
Two. That's what the
1,
go-go
2, 3.
bands used to do. Two.
Tell us where you're from without telling us where you're from.
DMV, baby.
Okay.
Oh.
Let's talk about the go-go bands. What's up, Faith?
Hi.
Lex.
Hi.
Hey. They
Hi,
coming
everybody.
through Casa Lex.
Yes, we are. I'm glad to see beautiful Faith here. Here in beautiful Miami.
Bringing all the vibes like she always does. I know y'all can't see her fit all the way. We'll make sure to put a pic up. But
Ooh.
styling
Take
and
a pic
profiling
after,
like
yeah.
she does.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Ladies, today on the
So
show,
beautiful.
we have Miss. Oh, Mrs. Let me fix it.
Fix
Fine.
it.
Mrs.
fine, it's
Faith
fine.
Haslem.
Yes.
Athlete.
Hi, Faith.
Boy mom.
Yes.
Wifey.
Yeah.
Investor and brand ambassador of the Flowery.
Absolutely.
She on the couch. Did you bring us any flour?
Oh, well, yeah. I got stuff for you guys all day. You know.
Oh,
Thank you
I'm
okay.
always
so much.
coming through. People know who to ask. And it's
No,
usually
you
me,
always
so.
do come through with the fresh flowers. But you know you in Casa Lex.
Yeah.
So Alexis is going to make sure that we're drinking.
Absolutely.
So Lex, tell us what we have here today.
Well, actually, since we have the beautiful Faith here joining us, this was inspired by one of our many trips that we have explored the world on. We'll call this one a snowy night in Toronto.
I love that.
I think I need the backstory behind
I know.
that.
There is a backstory.
I feel like
I'm excited about the
missing.
name.
Okay, so Faith is not a big drinker, but if it's light, if it's a little bit airy and a little bit more on the citrus side, then she will indulge a little
know
bit.
me well.
I know her well. And I remember there was elderflower in a particular drink where we were staying in the hotel. And so this is the elderflower
So
mule
good.
per se. It has lime, lemon, mint, and vodka. So it's a vodka-based drink.
Oh, you didn't tell me I was drinking vodka.
Is that a violation?
Oh,
It's
no.
good. I love it.
Oh no,
It's
I thought I
okay.
was on the tequila.
It's okay.
I just spent like so much of my college years
Vodka.
drinking really bad
Like Belvedere.
vodka.
I mean, I'm familiar with obviously like the big, you know.
No, Belvedere is
Was it
like
not
top
Belvedere?
shelf to what I drink. I'm talking like Pataki.
I don't even
What?
know what that is.
Pataki.
This is what I'm saying. Like I'm talking like $10 would get you the
Ooh-wee.
gallon.
No,
Let's stick
that's
with this.
different.
So
This
I was
is what
like-
I'm saying, right? And then after I graduated, we started like going to clubs and stuff, and guys would have tables, and they would have like vodka at the table.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, Puff came around with Ciroc.
Yep.
I was
Vodka,
working for
yep.
Fab. I drank coconut vodka for like 3 years of my life. Like vodka's just rough for me. But you did something with this recipe. I had
It's
no
like-
idea.
you're like, I
was like, yeah.
It's very light and refreshing.
It is.
So for anyone, it's good. It's a good mass too. It's not too heavy.
Yeah, it's like it's light. Is there vodka in Aperol Spritz?
You know what? I'm not sure.
I think so.
But I'm not a big Aperol Spritz fan just because of that liqueur that they put in there.
You don't like the flavor?
No.
What is that? Describe it, because I got a way to
Ew,
describe it.
to
too.
me, it's like a licoricey. I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
What would
it's
you
like
say?
bottom heavy. It's like after you drink Aperol Spritz, it's
cough
like
syrup.
yeah, it's like
Ooh, that
still
sounds
on your
thick.
tongue, like in the back. But it's light and airy, is what people like to say about Aperol Spritz.
Yeah, it's a good daytime drink, and especially with warm weather, I feel like I see that more.
Okay, so a winter
Yes.
night in Toronto.
A winter night in Toronto. Yes, Faith has, I appreciate Faith because she'll show up.
Yeah.
Like around my birthday, it's always like a girls trip. And we've been to Belize, Cuba,
Paris, Aspen.
Aspen.
And most of these were my first time going to these places was with you. So you couple that with, she plans a great trip. So
No,
I
that's
love
one thing
going
you
on
can do.
Alexis's like B-Day trips or anything she's doing along those lines. I'm like, I know it's going to be well planned, well thought out, itinerary, like down to a T. So I appreciate her effort, honestly, in like putting that all together. And it's always amazing.
Thank you, Faith.
I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a couple of these girl trips on the gram. Girl trips always look amazing from the outside. Are they that amazing on the inside? Let's talk about them.
I mean, Alexis's are. I have friends who have been on, girls' trips with friends of theirs or whatever. And yeah, they come back with stories and stuff. Mine are nothing but positive. I think she also curates a really nice group of people, which I actually feel like is super key. You want the right people together that are hopefully going to have a good time together, vibe well, and all that. So picking the people that you travel with is
it's
like
not
next level.
it's not
It's tough.
giving Real Housewives walk into the house, everybody fights for the best friend.
No, we're not doing all of that.
We don't have that energy.
We
at all.
we know who likes to share rooms. Who
Oh my
doesn't.
God! Remember in Aspen, I stayed in the basement. I like literally was like, I got basement. Like what I elected for. It's also just the easygoingness. I was like, I'll take it. Like let's go.
Absolutely.
So
I mean, keep
was
in
great
mind
down
it was
there.
this
It was a- I was about to say, maybe
I was
you should, like,
don't
yeah,
say
kinda-
just the basement, guys. I just
you're
didn't throw her in the
you're
basement.
Right, you're right. This was some
Let's just put
incredible
that-
house in Aspen.
It was
Exactly.
like 3 levels. You could
was
ski in there.
insane.
They had
It
the
was
hot
insane.
tub.
You
could
It was
ski in the
glass.
house.
It was insane. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
You can ski in the house, like from the slope. So like this
What?
beautiful mansion, which was glass. Remember, it was a glass.
Beautiful.
So
And
you
it's
could
like
see the
snowing
snow
outside.
in the Alps, and so you're able to like literally ski
Just
in
look out.
the house, and then you take off your gear. Like, I don't want to say it was like a garage because it's not a garage. It's just
No.
kind of like I've never seen anything.
I don't know what they call it out there, but it's
I don't know
obviously
what
some
it's
kind
called.
of feature that probably a lot of
But
the
you
really
could
nice
ski
homes
in and
have.
ski out. It's very normal.
To just ski in and ski out of your crib.
You obviously can't like go down the mountain into your place.
No.
But it's off the mountain.
That's fire.
It's
guess it's
so
like living
dope.
on the
It's
beach.
so
It's
dope.
like living on the
It's
water,
levels.
maybe.
Yeah, people-
They just want the convenience, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
That's so cool.
So dope.
I don't know if this is just a particular Oculus that I put on or if all the Oculus. Have you guys got on those like?
I have not yet.
I've done it from time to time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Netflix while
No,
on it?
I do all the like silly games with my kids. Like, we
Okay.
just play like the zombie shooting.
Yeah, it's
All
pretty
right.
good.
Well,
Or
I
whatever
wanted-
you're talking about, yeah, this sounds fun. What happened?
So when you put it on, and I don't know if this is just the settings of the one that I got on, and you can customize them, so bear with me if this is not how all of them are. But when I first put it on, I was like in a house in Cabo, right? And you pull up the menu and like you can choose your things. So I scrolled through and I was like, oh, let's watch Netflix. I clicked Netflix and they dropped me right into the middle of a cabin in like Aspen with like snow coming down the window, like a couch. Girl, I
So
tried
you
to
could
put my
sit there
feet
and
up.
watch it?
There was
nothing to put my feet up, right? But I just imagine this house you guys are staying in is
sounds
exactly
cool,
the
though.
dream house that I go
It's
in
a-
on the Oculus.
it's 100% a dream home.
It was.
This
Yeah.
is definitely for the winter chateau.
Oh,
Okay.
not Chateau.
It's the winter
Beautiful.
chateau.
Chateau
was.
Charade, Casa Legs.
We gotta name it.
Faith,
name
do you have a name for your house over there in the
No, we're
man
definitely
cave?
it's
The
like
man
the
cave.
I was gonna say,
Oh,
I feel like I
wow.
have to include some kind of ranches aspect. We're north of Miami, and it's more like the vibe is. I almost feel like when you're there, it doesn't even feel like you're in Miami anymore. It's
I
very
agree.
suburban, but it's also like it's just more open land. It's not so much like water based, so it's a lot of like greenery
land
and
is
yeah, it's
spread
just a
out.
different aspect of obviously being down, in Miami.
So like maybe like the Haslem Ranch.
Haslem Ranch or the something.
Yes,
So I
yeah.
have to think on that. Yeah.
I like that. I like
Listen,
that.
I want to make
Do
it
it,
out to
babe.
the ranch.
You have to come out to the ranch.
Faith is the only woman in her house.
Wow, the
I
queen.
love. I know.
You
like,
do love
I
it.
weirdly,
Castle.
like, I'm here for it. I
You
know.
like
I
it.
kind of embrace that role. Yeah, I like being the only girl in the house.
Do you guys have any animals?
We have all dogs and they're all male. We have
Yeah,
6
see, that's-
dogs and they're all guy dogs.
And no, guys.
I know. Should we
There's like
explain?
many.
There were like many people. Well, like they look like horses themselves. Yeah, we have King Corsos, a
They're
couple Borables,
huge and very intimidating.
and yeah, all male
Oh,
dogs.
my
So
goodness.
to your point, a lot of male energy.
A
But
ton.
for me, it works. I grew up such a tomboy. Like as a child, like as a kid, I was friends with all boys and like very rough and tumble. So I feel like my energy just matches,
Yeah.
kind of what my boys are bringing a little bit in my rapport with my husband to some degree, even though he hates that I tell the stories about me being a tomboy. I don't know. Obviously, I've grown into my womanhood. I'm here now.
Yes.
But there's times you would have never caught me in a dress, heels, any of that. Like I really probably wanted to be a boy back in the day. Obviously, I was surrounded by other girls who were very much like me, but just there was a natural inclination for me to just go the way of like guys and like hanging out and like I said, I'm not a girly girl. I like maybe that's
Well, that's interesting. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about your background, so we might as well start there.
Okay.
So you are a beautiful biracial woman.
I am.
Black mom, white mom, black dad. What's your mix?
Black mother, white Jewish father.
Where'd you grow up?
I'm from Virginia, born and raised in Fairfax, Virginia, or Fairfax County. I was born in Fairfax Hospital. I lived a little deeper into Virginia, but for reference for people, I'm right outside of DC. So I'm in northern Virginia. So a few hours away from like Virginia Beach and some of those areas. So I very much claim like DMV. So it's, DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
That's a big
But
deal, right?
But very much VA.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, okay.
Very much VA,
There it
because,
is.
and you know why
There
I
it
do
is.
that? Because growing up, like, they kind of would give some shit to, like, people from Virginia that are claiming DC, or if you were from Maryland and you claim DC, they were like, you know, you're over there fronting, like, you know, you're posturing. So I'm like, no, I'm very much VA, but I hung out, of course, in DC. I hung out in, like, PG County on the Maryland side. We are all, like, we're all within 10, 20, 30 minutes of each other.
Well, let's take inner city DC kind of out of that, but it's lots of prominent Black communities.
Oh, yeah. But then where I grew up, though, in Fairfax County, it was predominantly white. Like, I certainly was like the only Black kid in all my classes, which is very different from, I feel like, kids in PG County, because that's where I was always like thirsting to go hang out and like be around, is because that's where all the Black people were. But for us, I was very predominantly white where I grew up. So I didn't get a lot of those aspects like growing up, as far as like being able to see others like me. Now also being mixed, my journey is I've always identified as Black. So I still felt very different than obviously like, the white kids in my class or at my school and stuff like that. I never had those like identity kind of like questions or issues with myself. I don't know if it's because my mother is Black. And for me, the maternal kind of motherly like role of seeing her and another female, like another Black female, like that's what I was too. I understood I looked obviously a little different. Clearly there's the mixture in there. I'm very proud of my dad and obviously his Jewish heritage, which we did grow up like very aware of. But when people look at me, I feel like they see a Black female, and that's what I am. So
yeah, it's interesting because it wasn't until Alexis, as much as we make it look like we just come out here and freestyle, we do a little like conversation and stuff before, and I realized that you're definitely a biracial woman, but I don't necessarily look at you the same as I do some of my biracial friends that have white mothers and Black fathers, and I just don't.
Appreciate that. I know, and I don't want to
don't
make
know
anyone
why
feel bad for
my-
making that distinction, but even growing up, who struggled? I have a brother, so it's me, my sister. I'm the youngest. It's my sister, then my brother, then me. I don't know if it was because he was the middle child or the boy. And remember, now he's the boy with a white father. He had major identity issues. Like, my brother was definitely went through a lot growing up, trying to like find himself. We also grew up, we're not super privileged at all. We were middle class, but we lived in the suburbs. We had a nice home. He struggled a lot with like finding where he kind of belonged, wanting to like hang out in the hood, hang out with certain kind of people to prove whatever he was trying to prove to himself. I don't know if my dad can meet him on a lot of those levels to maybe explain things, explain what it means to be a Black man, because that's what he is. So unfortunately, I feel like his struggle might have been obviously very different than my sister's and mine, that, my mom was like, there it is. Like, there was never any confusion. There was never any like misunderstanding about like, what we knew people saw us out in the world, and then also like how we looked in the mirror and saw ourselves.
We do a lot of Midwest talk. I'm from the Midwest, obviously Lex too.
Go Chiefs.
I don't know that I actually ever came across any Black mothers and Jewish fathers.
There's that piece
interesting
too.
So
dynamic.
that is, you said that was that is something that you did grow up in the household with.
My dad wasn't super traditional either, so it wasn't like I didn't have like a bat mitzvah or anything crazy like that, but I was just aware of it because from my understanding, the way my dad is literally like an Ashkenazi Jew, like his people are from like that land
bloodline.
doesn't even so they very much consider it not only a religion, it's a culture, it's a race.
Correct. Israel it's an interesting dynamic just because one is the size of Jersey, but it's so mighty, and then at the same time you're speaking a language that is the nation's language of Israel, and then you have religion behind it, and spirituality behind it, and heritage. So I know a ton of people who are, Israeli but not Jewish as well. So it just kind of all flows and kind of we've had this conversation
because
too
my
before.
mom's very much Christian, you would say. We grew up like celebrating Christmas and obviously following a lot of her because she was just more involved. My dad just wasn't very like involved in the religious aspect of his Jewish heritage. He was born and raised in DC. his parents grew up in New York. You know, he didn't have a bar mitzvah either. I think they even celebrated Christmas. I don't know if that was his parents, like, just
assimilating.
Yeah, like wanting to just give him whatever that normalcy was that they felt he needed just to be like other kids. I don't know if that was like, so crazy story actually. My grandparents, so my grandfather was a lawyer and my grandmother was somewhat of an activist like in DC, but they fought a lot for like civil rights at that time. Literally, my dad as a child, my grandmother took him to the Martin Luther, I Have a Dream speech, like in DC.
Wow.
Like, he took a black girl to prom. Like, my father was also very progressive. Like, his interest in black women started incredibly young. So, yeah, he was like,
but being in DC, and if you notice, like, a lot of the older pictures you see, there's a rabbi there.
I think he said his elementary school, too, was like one of the first, like, integrated,
yeah.
or first schools that were integrated.
Wow,
So he grew up with a lot of those, like, references. It still doesn't mean it wasn't an issue when he brought my mom home.
I was gonna ask. I'm sure it's
still that was still tough. Again, so the story goes. Like, people had to wrap their heads around it and be accepting of that.
Well, I don't know too much about the Jewish culture. I think it's the safe way to say it. It includes religion and
all the
your
things,
race, if you say it that way. Yeah. But I do know that procreating within your culture is important.
Absolutely.
So I could imagine, despite wanting to see an equal and just world, that doesn't necessarily mean that I want it to be my world.
Right. And remember, I just admitted that my father didn't grow up super traditional. I think it was just more about her being black, just period. Like, even though, again, they were fighting for these things, but it's always a little different when your kid brings someone home. And I'm sure they were probably like, she was younger and like all the things. She's from the South. They met in Florida. Actually, my parents met where my mom is from Florida. She's from Brevard County, which is near Orlando. Super small town. My dad was there doing like this mission trip with these other like white kids that were there to like help and like help the
Those
town.
less fortunate.
The less fortunate, 100%. And he came, and him and my mom met, and the rest is history. But
that's kind of
Florida's.
They were the first interracial marriage in Brevard County, I think, in 1973. The very first interracial marriage, which is, again, these were like big deal things at the time.
This is huge.
They're huge deal things, and I think about some of our friends that are in interracial relationships right now, like. You don't know how lucky you have it at this point in life to run around with your cute little biracial children.
I even as a kid,
like
in the 80s and like in the early 90s.
It's cool. It's trendy now. It's like a
so
thing
trendy
to do.
now. But guess what? Like walking around with my dad back in the day, definitely got side eyes, definitely got questions. My mom as well. So from both sides of it, I remember we took a trip to Alabama to visit some of my mom's family. And they were definitely like, don't show public affection. Like, don't walk, just to save yourself some trouble of not getting any unnecessary attention or calling that kind of attention to yourself. So, but yeah, we've come a long way.
It's wild that it's like super trendy now.
Is it trendy or is it acceptable now?
I do think it's a trend.
I think it's a trend.
I think in the world,
like it's cute.
The
to
Kardashians
do it, like,
and the Jenners.
Oh, 100%.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I do. I have this conversation with people a lot, and that's why I am so proud that my mother is black, and no knock on anybody else, but that's so important to me. And I don't know what my life would have been like if it was the other way around. Like, that presence for me was everything. And my dad is such a cool dude anyway, and obviously identifies, and he's able to kind of like get in where he can fit in. Although my father's a Q dog.
That's amazing.
How about that? I know. I'm like, I was literally
amazing.
The only white Q. I feel like I need to explain him a little bit too, and like obviously because this was a time again where it wasn't cute and trendy.
There's a show on HBO Max. I'm so upset. I just read an article recently that canceled after 2 seasons, but both seasons basically follow one single, and for 6 to 8 episodes, you find out about a love interest of theirs that like changed or shaped their life, basically. In the second season, it follows a young black single guy in New York City. And he ends up having a love affair, without the love, just basically sex, with an older white woman. They meet up every certain day of the week and like have sex at the Palace Hotel. She ends up getting pregnant. When he's like, what are you gonna do? And she's like, I'm gonna keep the baby. You don't need to have anything to do with it. And this is basically from the black male voice perspective, where he shares, you're not going to kick me out of the picture and make me a black dad statistic while you run around with a cute little baby with curly hair and light eyes.
Exactly.
And now you have the perfect accessory and I'm the deadbeat black dad. That's not how this is going down.
And then I also worry for that child, because where's the perspective for that kid understanding? Because I was watching the whole like Prince Harry, that joint on Netflix, and she has a black mother.
She does.
But it was interesting to hear her say, like, I never incurred any issues with my skin color or even having to tap into understanding like what that meant to other people until everything started happening with her at the palace and the people there. And so then they cut to her mom kind of saying like, yeah, I wish I had talked to her more about that as a child. So it's like, I mean, that's fair for her to say because that is her experience, but she didn't outwardly say I didn't identify as black. But at the end of the day, it was a little tricky.
Color.
Yeah.
And not seeing color.
But I'm that mixed person that's like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I don't see how that happens. Even looking at a Meghan Markle, I'm like, nah, but you're black. But to me, you're a black woman. And for her, maybe she might have a different answer, and that's obviously her right to have. But the piece that was most important to me was hearing her mother say what she said, because she clearly recognizes, like, yeah, there was something that was slightly missed. All I'm saying is for that situation you're explaining, here's this person that's going to be raising a black child, and it's like no one's going to give them that reference of even understanding what that is and what that means.
And what it means.
Because you're not white. Like, you're not, like, that's where it's like there is this weird middle ground of, like, you hear the person say, oh, I'm not black enough to be over here, and I'm not white enough to be over here.
Right.
I never really struggled with that. Because where I also grew up, there was tons of light-skinned black people with two black parents. So it's also like my color didn't give anything away. Like, I don't know. It's just not an experience that I remember having of being like, oh, what am I? Like, I don't get it. Or I want to be over here, but I'm black. And I didn't understand when people would even counter anything other than that. After seeing my dad, I'm still like, and what? I'm black. Like,
yeah. So wait, your mom is actually from Florida. So like Florida's really like in your blood.
It is. I know. It's like full circle too. 'Cause my husband's from Florida. Yeah.
I went to school in Florida.
I went to school in Florida.
Where did you go to?
I went to University of Florida. Go Gators.
Is that the U?
No, that's University of Miami.
Sorry, Florida has a lot
and then
of schools.
Florida
I'm
State,
sorry.
No, they do.
Florida
so
State.
University of Miami is that.
Okay.
Florida State in Tallahassee is the chop.
The Seminoles, right?
Yeah, they're the Seminoles, but they still do the they still very much that's like their chant. And
that's
we're the
like
Gators.
It's like maroon with the Indian
yes,
chief.
Yes. So the Gators are the Gators, and we're orange and blue.
Okay.
And we do this. And we're in Gainesville.
What made you choose the University of Florida?
University of Florida chose me. I'm just
yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Amongst the other schools I was considering. So I'm a former athlete. You know, I still like to call myself an athlete, but
I mean, we see your bod. You're still an athlete.
Faith is still very much competitive and very much dope and in shape all the time.
Thank you.
And hard to work out with. But go ahead.
Another survivor story.
Another survivor story. I ran track since I was 8 years old, and it turned into an amazing outlet for me. It took me a lot of places. I was doing my thing and really doing well in high school.
You want to just say young queen? You want to talk?
Please, we want to know. We
know about Alexis's name is still up in the rafters at her high school. So
I just got my high school just retired. There was a whole little ceremony, which was pretty epic. But like my accolades within high school, like I was just top in the nation in my event, very highly recruited.
What was your
beautiful?
400. I was a sprinter, but I got recruited for
those of us that are like not 400 is like what, half the track or the full
all the
track?
way around.
All the way around.
Sprint
one of the longest races on the track. I mean, if you add hurdles, it's really hard.
Sprinting the whole way around.
It's a strategic long sprint, obviously, but yeah, at the end of the day, it is pretty all out. So,
girl, those were the days in high
one.
school PE when they were like, it's track day or mile day or cross country.
Right?
I was like, oh, I don't feel good. My stomach hurts.
Can I get a note?
I was doing anything
to
get
like
out of
long
running.
distance either, though. I'm a sprinter, which I always like. That's key. Like I'm not out here trying to run laps and run miles and miles either. But yeah, no, track was my outlet and my avenue to move on to bigger and like better things. So Florida was one of the schools that was recruiting me. I took visits to Stanford, Clemson, University of Texas, Florida. The position I was in, I could have went wherever I wanted to go, which was cool and it's nice. And looking back on it, it's like I was very lucky, I was super fortunate to be in that position. I worked really hard to be in that position. But yeah, like that, it was a cool experience and something that I'll never take for granted and really enjoyed. Like,
it's part of your journey.
It is.
As someone who just finished paying off her student loans right before Joe Biden decided to erase them.
So,
I wish I would have had some sort of skill where I would have been recruited
getting a scholarship
and then had
was,
it paid
for
for
free.
because it's game changing.
100%. I was looking for a sports school, 100%.
Absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
that's what I was on. That's what I was about. I needed it to be competitive. I wanted to compete at that next level and challenge myself. So the interest was there. So very much so. I was like, I want to tap into that. So that's how I ended up choosing Florida. They were just SEC, the conference, the most competitive when it comes to like, I think in general sports, but track specifically.
Wow.
Interesting. What did you study there?
I majored in business administration. I got my degree.
I always feel like
Business
people who play
administration.
sports when they go to college, like majoring is like the afterthought.
It is.
It's like,
'Cause
oh,
you know
maybe
what?
whatever you guys will give me.
A ton of
just-
athletes,
That's
because they do, and that was a weird experience because I was very much into my academics as well, but as a student athlete and a student athlete on full scholarship, like for them, like they'll just throw you in. Like a lot of, my husband was in hotel management, like, and a lot of athletes were, because it was like this easy major that they can literally
least,
throw
yeah, you can get good
everybody
grades,
in.
you're
And
eligible.
exactly, the classes are like
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and there were a ton of athletes like in fucking hotel management and stuff like that.
I love it. I love it.
You had a cute butt. I know you did. 'Cause track athletes
Little
always
athlete,
have
like,
the cutest
body.
little butts.
Yes.
So
We
your
were
face
just little
was.
fit little beings just doing our thing.
And little beans just doing your thing.
Just running.
Was that you I was talking to? Oh no, talking to Amber. Amber's gonna be like a third host that's like
I
not even
know.
here. She comes up on every
I'm sure I was
episode.
about to
she
say,
really-
she's probably
yeah, she really
referenced
does
a
come
lot.
up on every mutual friend.
We
of
love
all of
Amber.
ours.
We love
We
Amber.
love Amber.
Amber was talking about, we were talking about Lil C at college. And apparently the baseball team hangs out with the girls' track team.
And that's exactly how it goes. Because like during the era that we were there, like the football guys and the basketball guys didn't get along. We used to have a weird thing with the volleyball girls. So yeah, for whatever reason, you kind of clicked up based
With
on
your
your
team.
team.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like all the athletes, they house us all in the same like area and these, you know, the
dorms
nicer
and all that,
dorms
yeah.
and like all that
Yeah.
stuff. We have our own specific and separate academic office and just resources, like whether it was your
tutors
academic
that do your
counselor.
homework?
Well, they didn't do it for you, but tutors.
They got you there.
And we had spaces, and we had, back then it was computer labs, because you
Yeah.
don't necessarily have a computer in your room, which I'm sure everybody has now. But yeah, so my point is, like, we were, like, the athletes all were one big, like,
you guys
yeah.
ganged up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is special and important about Faith is that she has been with her partner for how long?
So we're going at, like, 20, 21 years.
She's been with her partner
Whoa.
for 21
22 years. That's
22.
beautiful.
We put extras on it now.
I love it. That's
It
beautiful.
was literally end of my, that we actually got together, end of my sophomore year, like, middle of my sophomore year, middle of his, he's a year older than me, middle of his junior year.
Okay, well, since this is
yeah, we're
this is
talking,
a
yeah,
podcast
2000.
about first, then
I know.
Yes.
tell us about the first time you ever saw your husband on campus. So this is my story of how this day went in my head. So here's Faith with all the girls with the cute butts. See, it's not just her.
Yes.
Now it's a whole
Yes.
team of
It is
them.
a bunch
Yes.
of
Walking across the main courtyard. Somebody said something to Faith and she turned to her right and she was like, oh. And then she saw a guy standing in the background.
So it was actually my freshman year, and we crossed paths. That's why I'm like, wait, what do you know about the courtyard? So there was a courtyard, and we called it the set.
Because you know I went to the University of, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, wait, which one are you about to say? Which one are you about to say? At University of Florida,
Okay.
we had this area on campus where all the kids would hang out, a lot of predominantly like some of the black kids, like, you know, it was like more of us over there. But anyways, we called it the set, but everybody was passing
set.
through. The
Oh
set.
my
It was lit.
God,
Like
the
they would
set.
have like step shows on this set. And like it was just always that area where you'd be hanging out in between, like your whatever. All the frats, all the peoples, and obviously the athletes, like we're all crossing paths. But it's a very like central area in campus too. So again, casually people are just literally just walking by trying to get to wherever they have to go. I remember him. I was walking like in one direction. He was kind of coming towards me. As athletes, like I was familiar with who he was and likewise, but we just did the like head nod and like the smile. But, and he laughs because I remember this so vividly because this is a year before we actually like got together or actually, you know, really started to pursue something. But I remember looking at him in that moment and be like, oh, he's cute, like whatever. And it was in passing, but that always sticks out in my mind is like that first moment that I saw him and clearly like an interest was somewhat sparked or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so how long did you go before you guys changed like a head
Changed
nod
the
into
guard?
like
I
either an
know.
exchange of phone numbers or maybe hanging out?
It's kind of a weird story So I think
Now he was dating
always,
somebody on the track team.
not technically.
I
actually
I'm
think
getting really good at this guessing
you
game.
are. I'm
It's
like,
kinda
did I
weird,
tell you these
actually.
stories already? I mean, I like to think, and I tease him again to this day, of feeling like the angle was always to get to me. But
Okay.
so there was like a girl,
I like
because that's the
that.
thing. Like she had like a man, like she had a situation.
You see her face? It
She
still
had a
turns
dude.
up
I was
a
like,
little
hold up. She had a dude on the football team, and they were very much a couple or whatever. I think they had a class together. Udonis and my husband, and this particular friend of mine who was also on the track team. We were literally both from Virginia. We went to like
With the
neighboring
cute
high
butts.
schools. We all had cute butts.
Yeah.
So. But they were just like casually, but they had exchanged numbers first. So like we're talking calling each other's dorms type energy. So all very early on, because obviously she was already in a situation, but we all thought he was cute. So at the end of the day, you were like, whatever, I'm gonna give him a little bit of time. So she would be on the phone with him, and I'd be in her room, and guess what? Who would end up like talking to him the whole time was me. So I think over the course of probably like couple months of just that like casual, again, like interactions with kind of all three of us, and then but really it was really me and him. It finally turned into just me and him. Like we finally like took it somewhere else, and I think we hung out. And our first date was like at Popeyes or something like that. He had a car.
Oh,
So
That's a big
he
deal.
can take you off campus.
I didn't have a car.
Yes, that's
So I was
a
like,
big
where
deal.
if you drive, I'll pay. I paid for that date. It's like, I was at Popeyes, I paid, but he did pick me
bartering
up.
going on in college.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
definitely. And he let me use his car. I had to move from dorm to dorm. At the end of the year, we would all stay for summer school. A lot of the athletes would stay because our season actually continued way after like our school year was done and went into like the summertime. So we were all there. I just had to move, and he let me borrow his truck to like
That's big.
move. Like I
That was
like,
actually
wow.
letting the
I
whole
was
campus
so
know that
nervous.
like you were his.
To your point,
Yes.
that's 100% what it was.
100%.
Because everyone knew his car. Like he had like an Explorer, like he had like a truck back then or whatever. He was living. And yeah, to your point, driving that, like people knew what was up then. Like they were like, oh, word? Okay.
Yeah, that's his girl for real.
She must be special.
She got
I was
the
like,
keys.
I got the keys. To
But
it.
it's so crazy that, people always run with this, like, is love at first sight a real thing? Right? I don't know that necessarily falling in love at first sight is a real thing. But there was a moment that now, 21 years later, you can still, like you said, vividly point out the moment, seeing him walk across that grass.
Just an interest being sparked.
It's like the Lion King, when you have all the different animals and you want to like walk a little strut.
We're
a little
mad
different.
young.
Yeah.
Bro. Like
you're like, oh, I see
also
that one
like
right
the
there. Oh,
energy,
I might like that right there. But then you see that one and you're just like, okay.
Yeah, it just left a
my
lasting
vibe.
impression. I wasn't necessarily like so tapped in based on that one time of seeing him. It's just a moment that I very like vividly remember, like
That's
that
beautiful.
first time. To your point, a first time of just really noticing him, and obviously, but again, and nothing came of that moment at all. Nothing came of that.
That's
I got a smile back, which at that time was enough for me, which felt like, okay, he knows who I am. I don't even know if he technically knew my name. I just knew he probably recognized me. I clearly he's tall, like obviously he stands out and just naturally, but yeah, no, I do.
I think that's real though, because I don't know, Lex, I'm going to challenge you to think about this too. I've dated several different types of men, but the only person that I've been in love with that I feel like truly loved, I can still remember the first 3 minutes of spending time in his presence. Like I just truly really remember that. And there'll be other guys who I really like and enjoy, but I can't pinpoint that first moment. I could be like, we were friends with, or you knew so-and-so, right? And like, you can kind of find the beginning. But the one person I truly loved in my life, I can tell you like how I turned around to see the curtain open.
I remember.
I agree.
Like, I can't explain it that well, but I remember the direction. Like if we were to go back to campus, I'd be like, I was walking this way. You were coming this way.
I did too.
We look like all that. 100%.
It just is a memory.
I could tap into that too, because I very, very vividly remember the first time that I saw my ex. Like it was, yes, I can remember the day. I remember what I had on. I remember what he had on. And it might not be love at first sight, but it's definitely lust. It's very much attraction. It's very much like we're supposed to cross paths.
Yeah.
And everyone has a journey. So everyone's path, you're at
might
the
be
right
someone
place
that's
at the
gonna-
right time.
Exactly.
I'm a true believer of that.
Exactly.
Well, 20 years later.
Yes.
Although to
That's
that point of
beautiful.
obviously all the years we've put in now, looking back, we clearly are soulmates, and we've learned that over time, and there's nobody I'd rather be with. But we laughed because we were like, if it hadn't been that moment in time that we would have met, like we would like to think in this world, in this life, we would have met somewhere at some point. Yeah.
That's dope.
Because now we understand what it
that's
is. So
beautiful to
clearly,
hear.
like to your
Yes,
saying, we
yes.
were meant to cross paths.
Absolutely.
We were meant to like be in each other's lives and share journeys and things like that.
And you guys are friends.
100%. That's my bestie.
Yeah, that's your best friend. Like that's yes.
Facts.
Yes.
I love that.
That's my home.
I'm getting chills for you, babe.
That's my
Yeah.
bruh.
Yeah,
That's
no,
my
that
bruh.
is.
So 20 years later,
It's a long
2
time.
decades.
sometimes you don't look at him like you looked at him across
No.
that field.
And there's a lot of growing. Yeah, no.
okay.
You guys grew up together for
We
sure.
grew up together.
Yes.
For real, for real.
And now you're raising 2 little boys.
No,
Not
they're
so
not little.
but
Oh, well, let me.
No.
show's picture. You guys gotta show us.
Yes.
Like, we give you a
Little,
Okay,
visual.
they're not
little
little.
boys.
They're not little.
Right here, they're not little. How old are
Pretty
your
big.
boys?
My boys are 15 and 11. I mean, in age, maybe that 11 is still son, but he's a big boy too.
How tall is he now?
He's almost my height. The little one is like, which actually is an issue in the house because he's like, why am I not taller? But he's like 5'5", but he's 11. I'm like, also like, relax, bro.
You're 11.
Yeah,
Relax.
and he's
You haven't even
don't
hit your
worry.
bar mitzvah
But
yet.
yes, I know.
What are we talking about? You got a lot
you
more
have
to
time,
go.
bro.
You got
Relax.
time.
We're gonna get there, we promise.
Yeah.
But my older son, that's who my younger son is comparing himself to, is his older brother, who was very big at every age. Like he's almost 6'6" and he's 15. So, and at every age, when he was like, he was way taller than my 11-year-old when he was 11. Not way, but a good probably 2 or 3 inches. Like I feel like he
Yes.
was already taller than me in like 6th grade. So
Was he like a big baby also?
he was my first. Yeah, he was 8'6". Would we consider that big? That was pretty big for my first.
6 is
that's-
not.
to me. That
You know why that's big to me? Because my mom, like, we must have all been mad little. I think I was her
sevens?
biggest baby, and I was a little under 7. My sister was 5 pounds, 5-something pounds,
Oh, yeah,
full
you
term.
guys were little.
Full term. Full
Yeah,
term.
you guys were little.
yeah.
So I think but then everyone was expecting me to have a big baby because my husband's a big guy.
Yeah, mine were all 8s. Yeah,
Yeah.
low 8s, and I had one high 7, but long.
My
like
sister had a
20,
10-pounder. 2
And how-
10-pounders, no epidural one time, and her husband's like about 6'3" or whatever.
That's
She's
what
had
I
some
was
big
gonna
ass
say.
babies.
That
like,
sometimes
she's had some big ass babies. Like
Yeah.
it grew for a long time.
She was
on the
eating
inside.
organic during her
Exactly.
pregnancy.
What she was
Serious.
doing, I'm
So
like,
I think
girl.
it's, by the way, we should talk about a whole other topic one day, which we could talk about. I do think that some of these babies are not all coming out this big because some women are choosing to have bigger baby daddies. I think that like the food
genetics.
intake we're doing, all the like.
But also, like, you
don't
could
know if it
dispel that with
matters.
the fact that, like, someone can have a big ass baby, but they're not like a big, they don't come from like super big parents or like, I don't know what the
exactly.
science is behind, like,
Yeah.
It
whatever.
skips,
but
it skips a generation. I don't know.
I think they say even like the woman, how much we can stretch, like how much like whatever you can carry. Sometimes a woman will dictate. Like, I don't know. Again,
Oh,
don't
I
get
don't
me
know.
started.
The
I'm no
Chinese,
doctor,
like if you
but
wrap your feet up, they won't grow.
yeah, like
bigger than
maybe,
your size.
there's only so big yourself, each individual like person will.
person.
So
But we're
basically,
also
your
meant to
youngest
stretch.
son should just blame you.
Yeah. he should
Okay,
be
maybe.
mad.
So if you're wondering,
I
why you're
always
not
was worried
growing.
about offsetting like the height thing
gene
or whatever,
pool.
the gene pool. So they look just like me, but they're big like their dad. So that's how the gene pool has
It
worked
worked
for
out.
us.
And are they playing sports?
100%. I think that was part of my desire to have sons. And y'all playing some sport. We about to do this.
Yeah.
Because that was my life. So it would have maybe been like that for a girl too. I think I would have certainly like encouraged that a lot. Whether that was like her MO, we would have,
She was like, put on the soccer
I mean,
jersey.
that was my
put on the
biggest-
track jersey.
Something you
That
go-
was
Ma'am,
my biggest
you
running.
dribble this
fear,
ball.
though.
Yeah, you
that
gonna
was my
do
biggest
something.
fear
You
about having a
active.
daughter. It was like, what if she's like a girly girl? Like, what the hell am I gonna do with that? Like, 'cause that's so not me. So yeah.
Well,
like,
the
that's
Most
just
High
how I
put the
felt.
boys in your.
He did though. I was blessed and
your
was
life.
able to get what I got.
Yeah.
And I pull up to the field. I'll come see
on it.
her baby.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So now, why you get to call them babies, but I can't call them little?
Because they're always babies.
They're always our babies.
I think
though.
they're
my
always
big
babies. They're just
giant.
not
That's my
little.
baby.
That's
Yeah,
all.
they're
They're
not
just
little
not-
at all.
they're
Stature-wise,
giant babies.
But
stature-wise,
they are still our babies.
They're babies.
So
and
she's
baby
right.
faces.
She's right. Exactly.
You know?
That's how I feel about my son. As big as he is, like
They're
I look at him, I'm
babies.
like, how could you not still think he's like 15, 16 years old? Like he's still like baby face. It's just
Yeah.
his big, grown man ass body.
Yes,
Probably
yes.
take care of some shit if he needs to. But yeah.
They eat like grown men too, huh?
They do. They're
What the
they're
hell is
very-
that grocery shopping bill like for 3
they're-
big ass
we're,
men?
we're blessed. We do have a chef that's been with us for literally like 16 years
Such
who
a
helps
guy,
a lot
too. Yeah.
with that. Like he's like a part of our family. So he facilitates a lot of that. But honestly, like, we're not like crazy with it. I mean, obviously, yeah, they got to eat. They're growing. They're big boys.
Nah, we need to get her pantry. I want to know what your pantry
I've
looks
actually
like.
cut back. Like, and now it's like I eliminated, like, there's certain things I feel like not even my parents were tapped into, but my husband and I, like, our approaches, and we tell the boys this all the time, like, if you're going to do it, we're going to do it. Like, I need full effort. They both showed talent and obviously a lot of potential in what they do. So, oh yeah, I just eliminated snacks not too long ago. We don't play about them chips and certain kinds of things in the house. Like, we just keep it tight.
Her pantry is like straight like Gatorade, Powerade, some vegetables, some
might
fruit.
have too much. Exactly. No, we keep it real streamlined though. Like in the past like year, we got kind of hardcore with it. You know what kind of hurt us was the pandemic. I kind of feel like we all were wilding out a little bit. And
same here. I'm definitely.
I feel like
I
her
can
house
attest
is
to that.
like very strict around there. I just feel like
she knows, but it's not. It's like it's so
No, you
not.
can go. You
but
can
like,
buy some cheeses.
remember, they eat school at lunch and they're in a private school and they can buy whatever they want. So there's no limitations on that. It's just a little bit more discipline at home now.
Got it. No Skittles, just fruit snacks.
Exactly. There you go.
Okay.
Something like that.
I used to hate when I wanted candy. My mom would be like, "You want some fruit snacks?"
You're like,
no, I want
love
candy.
fruit
I
snacks,
don't
but
want.
I'm like,
I love
I
fruit snacks. Stop
like, I love
offering
fruit
fruit
snacks.
snacks. I don't want fruit snacks. That leads me to my next first time question. When was the first time you were at your son's game or practice or something, and he did something that you realized, oh nah, he got it. Like, I need to show up equally to help support this dream.
He was 8. This is my older son. He's like very tapped in. He's all baseball. And again, big kid already. Like, so he's bigger than all his like contemporaries or whatever. I physically wasn't there. My parents were there, but it's still a moment where I was like, oh, wow. I was actually in Brazil with my husband's team was playing there for like a preseason game. So, of course, I wanted to jump in on that experience. So we happened to be there. My parents were manning the front. So anyways, he had a baseball game. And this is at the time of coach's pitch. Like, he still was young enough that he was doing that. Basically, he hit his first grand slam. And he's 8. And he hit it out the park.
Deal.
And like, and I remember my parents like
That's
sending
a
me
big
video, and it was like so epic. First of all, I was so sad.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I was very like, oh. But just hitting it out of the park and being that young, and it was just like, oh, this kid's like he's strong, like there's something there. There's something to tap into. There's something certainly that can be developed, and hopefully, like, let's see how far we can take it. So,
is there a difference? I'm sure there is. So maybe you can just explain the difference between watching your partner hit it out the park, for lack of better words, and seeing your son
oh my God, yes,
hit it out the park. What's
Facts.
the difference?
Oh man, I hope he's not like upset with it, but I'm way more invested. So my dad, the way I grew up, my mom didn't really come to much of the sports stuff. She just wasn't interested. Like, wasn't tapped in. Like, she's like, oh, whatever, good luck. Like, I would have to be like, Mom, it's states. Like, you should come. Like, this is like a big, like, whatever. So, and so she never was like, which I actually find so endearing about her too, because it was just like she was like, whatever. So anyways, long story short, my dad was the one taking me to all the practices, all the games. He was the present figure in all these moments. And he was super like chill, wouldn't yell or, cheer or anything. I set a state record. Good job. Like, he was just so cool. So I assumed that's how I would be. Like, I thought that's going to be like my energy. I'm not. I'm definitely like a yeller. I'm definitely like cheering and all that stuff. And it's because, to your point, it's the kids, like, because I don't act like that at my husband's game as much as I've been invested. They've played in the finals. Like, they've been in these really key, incredible moments where stakes were super high. And of course, I'm like, very much rooting for him, but I don't act like that in the stands at all. Like, I'm chill, like I'm quiet, like whatever. The stress level obviously is there just because I want it so bad for him. Watching the kids, it's like I want it so bad for them. It's a mix of the pride you're feeling, and then you don't want to make it about yourself, but it's like, like that's so, like, it feels good too when you see your kid out there like doing his thing. So
it's way cooler to be the mom of the kid that's killing it than the kid that's not.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I was about to say, I mean, yeah, of course.
You've been there.
I mean, yeah,
You've been there, sis.
I mean, that's what I mean. 100%.
Yeah, you've been on both
But
ends.
then, it's tough right now because now with Deuce being in high school, which is him being a sophomore. that's tough because there's seniors and juniors there that
Yeah.
are way
Same
more
for mine,
advanced, so he
Yeah.
doesn't get to play as much.
Right.
And, you know what I mean?
They're
So,
contending, absolutely.
Yeah, so I get it. I've seen both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's also like the control that I can have a little more obviously in this situation versus anything that's going on with my husband. Like
Yeah.
clearly, like that's
You gotta
very,
just
very
show out.
different. Yeah, like stakes.
Take
and
whatever his choices
absolutely.
and decisions
And,
are.
who
as
I'm gonna
a-
get mad at the coach for like,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
am I gonna speak to? So
Ooh, sports wife, sports mom,
sports, we are all about this. We are a sports family. Proudly.
sports girl.
Yeah.
So we touched a little bit on your involvement in the Flowery as an investor and a brand ambassador. Why don't you tell the people a little bit more about the Flowery?
So the Flowery is a marijuana-based company here in Florida. Currently, you have to have a license to buy marijuana here, which is a process
medical
like
license,
you,
right?
yeah, literally like
Just
it
to
looks like
let
a
everybody
driver's
know.
license, exactly. And the thing about Florida is that anything that's sold here has to be grown here.
That's-
So
oh,
yeah,
that's
they
the
call
law.
it seed to sow. Yeah, it's like I don't think that applies in like LA or other places
Yeah.
or
Oh,
California.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like a weird thing that Florida is doing. So the Flowery is our brand. We grow our own weed and we service the entire state of Florida. So we just opened our first dispensary here in North Miami. But before that, we were already doing, it was all online. And they deliver, they go up to Jacksonville, they go up to Tampa.
They
go
come to
everywhere.
Casa
Yeah.
Lex.
They
They
come to
come to
Casa
Casa
Lex.
Lex.
They come to Casa Lex. I mean, obviously Miami, Fort
belong.
Lauderdale, West
They
Palm.
do. No, it's like literally
It's a real delivery service.
door to
like
door,
100%.
like field
you
to
place your
door.
order online.
Field to door.
But it's
Field
very
to door.
official. Like you have to have your ID because they ask for all that information.
Yes,
Of course.
you and no one else can pick it up. I have to.
Of
be
course.
there.
You have
Yeah.
to show your
Yeah.
license.
Oh yeah,
Your
it's,
license.
that
It's
part.
my
I mean, that's for their
medical-
protection as well, and obviously to
Yes.
keep it all regulated based on again the rules now. Hopefully, when things change and you don't need a license anymore, and it's just again anybody over 21 can do it. It'll be a lot easier. But we did open our first dispensary in North Miami, which is epic. But and then we're about to open our next one in Jacksonville.
Beautiful.
So we're just trying to like take over Florida, and it's super great product. I can vouch for it.
Yes, I vouch
But
for
also
it
to that rule of the seed to sow, meaning like it has to be grown here. So to include other like cool brands, we literally will fly them in. They set up shop in Florida to be able to grow their particular strand here. So that allows us the ability to still be able to sell it here.
Oh, that's
Love it.
dope.
Because you can't just get something from somewhere that was grown and already rolled, or maybe like a pre-roll or something like that
it
from
doesn't
somewhere
count.
else. That technically would be like against the rules. So yeah,
Correct.
they're very particular about these things here in
Wow.
Florida right now. So
And do you guys focus solely on the flower, or do you
flour,
guys do
pre-rolls,
edibles?
edibles, like they're tapping into everything. So merch, is like
Yeah,
merch.
merch.
Like
Yeah.
I love our merch.
All the things.
all the things,
Yeah.
all the things.
That's super
no,
dope.
It certainly encompasses.
I love the
it all.
pre-rolls actually.
Oils, like we have, you know,
Yeah.
everyone loves their like vape type pens
Yeah,
that they can
yeah.
do the,
All
weed
of that.
oil with. So for convenience and ease, those are super great too.
Yeah.
I love that. So then the last question that I think I'll ask you is we had Sahar on the show last month,
Yes.
who I like to call the edible pusher. I'm your pusher.
Oh, she is, bro.
Yeah,
she
she
is.
is.
What?
She is.
She
Bro,
so
Sahar
is.
will
She is.
push you
She
an
does.
edible
She does.
from
She
the
does.
moment she walks in the door.
See, meanwhile, I'm trying to push you the joint. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm more of a
Yes,
smoker.
yes.
She loves her edibles.
Yeah.
but-
Sahar will push you an edible. So I want to know about the last time an edible hit you.
I have a great story for that because
Amazing.
it
Give
honestly,
it
but
to
it,
us.
unfortunately, it also was the moment where I was kind of off edibles too. So this was before I also was actively smoking the way I do now, which is fine. But I definitely had smoked before. I was familiar with it. It's fine.
Are you
know,
convincing
I've
us
evolved.
or yourself, sis?
All of us.
Who are
all
you
of us,
convincing?
all of us. The people. It's like, let me stop.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm a mom.
Don't shame me. Don't.
No,
you know,
not
it's like my
smoke.
glass of
This is
wine at
definitely-
night.
Casa Lex is definitely
it's fair.
smoke-free,
Exactly.
a friendly
It's fine.
environment.
That's when
It's fine.
When you stay at Casa Lex, you get like a welcome card. One of my favorite
on
notes on her welcome card, it'll tell you like about the breakfast bar. Like,
Oh my
different
God,
things
how
she
about
might
Shabbats
like.
on Fridays.
Yeah, Shabbats on Fridays. But there's also a little note that
I need
says,
to do a staycation here.
You
so
should.
I can,
You
so I can
actually
get these like I
should.
am. I'm like whatever.
she has
We're
a
gonna
little,
talk about
her
it.
little note at the bottom says, "Star, this is a smoke-friendly environment. Please use outdoor."
Absolutely.
So
I'm always respectful of people's homes.
But that's funny. So sorry, everybody's
But the-
creating
yes,
smoke-friendly
that's-
environments.
Yes.
But the edible story goes, so this is like 10 plus years ago, about 10 years ago. And it was just, I mean, I feel like it's the same story a lot of people tell. It was brownies. I wasn't aware. I ate the whole brownie as opposed to like taking a bite or two. I was high for like 2 or 3 days, bro. And it was, I
You
literally
like
was
stuck
like, I
high
literally
or
was like,
like
I want it to end. Like, I don't like this. Like, this isn't cool. I went and worked
Yeah.
out. I remember driving around and just like feeling away. It sucked after a while. And I definitely was like, yeah, I got played. And I didn't know. Well, no one explained it to me. I think I was probably mad at my husband. I was like, word, like nobody like, clarified the things for me.
How long before you tried an edible again?
Years.
It scares you.
Years. And honestly, I don't really, they're not
not
my
a big
favorite. Like, again, I'd rather smoke as
Agreed.
opposed to taking an edible.
I think edibles
That's
just
just
have
me.
that effect.
Yeah.
A bad
Nah.
edible experience will
Nah,
turn you
I left it
all
alone for
the way
years,
off.
years,
really will.
years. Obviously, the lesson learned from the brownies, and FYI for anybody out there that is interested, it's a bite, bro. It's like the time. Even when people are
Nothing
starting on like gummies and stuff, I'm like, do have.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm
just
very-
don't be
I
aggressive
take
about it, because the
ever.
problem with that is like when it hits. It hits,
Yes.
and then it's not, and then it takes a while sometimes to hit. So people just aren't
Absolutely.
patient enough to, and then they end up doing more,
Correct.
waiting
Or
for
it
something to
tastes
happen.
really
Now it's like
good.
double down. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
or exactly, or it tastes good, and you're actually over here like enjoying it.
Right.
Well, listen, Faith. Before you get out of here, we're going to figure out how to get the camera to zoom down to her shoes.
Oh my gosh,
We got to give you all of this.
Those, Faith.
they're fun, right?
They're
These are,
so
like, some
good.
of them are crazy.
They're so
I remember
good.
trying them on and being like, I love them.
Yeah.
I fucking love them.
And
I was
it's
like, they're
so
so fun. I was like, I
you,
haven't bought like a
Faith.
fun shoe in like a really long time. Exactly. And I was like, I know I
Yeah.
could rock them and freak them how I want
Yes,
to.
you
So-
can.
No, you killed that.
Consistently.
We didn't get to touch on Faith and her fashionista game, but if you follow her on social, you will
Yeah, you'll catch a
definitely get to
picture,
catch her
too.
fits.
Yes.
Faith, tell the
you.
people where they can find you.
You can find me at XOXO Faith, FAITH, Haslem, HASLEM,
And what about the Flowery?
Flowery, Florida, FLOWERY, Florida, spelled out.
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, check us out.
Perfect.
Listen, Lux,
Yes.
I think we had another great guest on this week.
Oh, Faith,
Thank
the
you
breath
guys.
of fresh air.
I was so nervous. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, how do you
Oh,
feel
we
now?
I
love
though?
know,
you.
100%. You guys are the best hosts. And-
Oh,
and I-
talk that. Gas us
This
up
is
too,
a
we
very
need it.
safe space. I don't do things like this at all, and honestly never have, and was certainly, like I said, very nervous to do so, but it was because of you guys that I'm here. So I
Thank you,
appreciate you
Faith.
both.
Well, I will
doing
encourage
this.
you in your next phase of life as Udonis decides to retire, and
It's
you're
on
gonna
deck.
get a
It's
little
on
bit,
deck.
you get a little bit more of your free time back to start to doing more. I think that being the brand ambassador for Flowery is a big deal.
Very
and-
organic, too.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
gonna be
it
super
does. It
organic
makes
for you,
sense
Faith.
for me. No, and that's always an important piece to anything that I do. Is just obviously, like you said, it's organic. It feels like me. It is me, and I find a lot of comfort in that too. It makes it fun for me.
Beautiful.
Well, it sounds like stay true to yourself, young queen.
Stay true to yourself.
Stay
Cheers
true to
to
yourself.
that. Cheers. to
Cheers.
that.
Thanks, Faith.
Cheers.
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 Cheers.